Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. The Sun Sentinel and their editorial board has added their voice to that of the Palm Beach Post and the other interested parties in getting the grand jury records released in the Jeffrey Epstein case. Today, we're going to read that article from the Sun Sentinel and their editorial board. The headline: Release grand jury records of filthy rich Jeffrey Epstein. Author, Sun Sentinel Editorial Board. And this was published in the sunsentinel.com. Jeffrey Epstein's death 10 months ago denied his survivors the satisfaction of seeing the sex trafficker, pedophile, face justice. Those survivors and the public, however, still deserve to know everything about the secret deal Epstein received in Palm Beach County a decade ago. 100%. Let us see the files. And folks, this is going to be an article kind of like the other one we read with the Palm Beach Post, probably the same sort of information, but it's important to add because it is another strong voice, the Sun Sentinel, demanding that this stuff be released. This week, Palm Beach County Chief Judge Krista Marks, fitting last name, ruled that State Attorney Dave Arenberg and Clerk of Court Sharon Bach can't release transcripts from Epstein's 2006 grand jury proceeding, which produced a single state count of soliciting of prostitution of a minor, which is not even a real thing in my opinion. Federal prosecutors in Miami at one point had considered charges that could have sent Epstein to prison for life for abusing dozens of teenage girls at his Palm Beach mansion. Well, that didn't happen, of course, because his friends from on high rode in on their white horses wearing their white armor to protect their disgusting, disgusting marred friend. Over and over and over we see this again. Jeffrey Epstein being protected by those in power. Jeffrey Epstein's friends being protected by those in power. Meanwhile, the survivors are left twisting in the wind. What an absolute joke. But then, U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta filed no charges. As part of an appalling agreement with then Palm Beach State Attorney Barry Krischer, Epstein pleaded guilty in 2008 to solicitation charge and drew an 18-month sentence in the Palm Beach County Jail. In a further insult to the survivors, the sheriff's office, which runs the jail, allowed Epstein to spend much of the time at his office. Meanwhile, while he was at his office, being involved in whatever he was being involved in, well, there was a deputy with him. So that deputy obviously wasn't doing his job if Jeffrey Epstein was still abusing girls, still abusing women. What exactly was this deputy doing? And did this deputy ever face any scrutiny for his role in this? How come there is never any accountability when it comes to situations like this? How come we can never depend on the prosecutors or even the police to do the right thing? If Epstein had gone to trial, the grand jury records would have become public. Because he took a deal, the records remain sealed and the questions remain unanswered. All part of the plan, folks. All part of Alan Dershowitz's plan to make sure that everything is as convoluted as possible, as muddy as possible. And then what you do is you finesse the prosecutors into your way of thinking. You have the prosecutors do your dirty work by smearing the accusers, and then, well, you head to the back room and you make a deal with your good buddies. That's pretty much what happened, right? That is exactly what it looks like. That's from all the information and all the evidence that's available to us. That's exactly what occurred. Though Marks dismissed the part of the lawsuit against Arenberg and Bach, she allowed the Palm Beach Post to seek a court order that could allow the unsealing of the transcripts. Michael Greigel, the paper's attorney, said discovery on that count will start. The Post should win. Yes, they should. So let's see it. And Judge Krista Marks knows that the Post has a leg to stand on here. They know that the Miami Herald and everybody else who is asking for this has a leg to stand on here. They're trying to make it drawn out. They're trying to go as long as possible to save face, because we know the prosecutors in Florida and Acosta's office and on high completely and utterly abandoned these survivors and let these people get away with it for all of these decades. Well, karma is coming around, folks. Florida law allows 3 exceptions to disclosure of otherwise secret grand jury proceedings. One is furthering justice. As Greigel notes, if learning why Acosta and Krischer approved the deal that has drawn condemnation worldwide doesn't meet the standard of furthering justice, it's difficult to imagine that any case could. 100%. This Greigel lawyer certainly gets it. These documents would do more to further justice than just about anything. We need to get to the root cause of this. We need to get to the bottom of who was involved in cutting Epstein deals. We need to get to the bottom of who was providing Epstein cover for so long. That is the root of the problem. This other stuff, those are symptoms of the problem. We need to get to the root cause, okay? It's like cancer. We need to get in there and cut it out. Politics almost certainly is at play. Krischer's support helped Arenberg become state attorney in 2012. Arenberg has refused to explain what role Krischer continues to have in the office, except to say that he isn't a prosecutor. Palm Beach County Sheriff Rick Bradshaw's office has also paid Krischer to be a consultant. And I think the number was like 135 boxes of ziti, aka $135,000 was what this guy was being paid as a consultant. Boy, that's good work if you can get it, huh? That is good work if you can get it, boys and girls. Marks added to the rancid politics by taking over the lawsuit. She worked for Krischer as a prosecutor. As the Miami Herald reported, her daughter is an assistant state attorney under Arenberg. Her son is a deputy under Bradshaw, whose office for many years did not disclose the deal that allowed Epstein to serve such easy time. How is she not recused from this case? How can she... there has to be a way that there should be some sort of forced recusal. This is just beyond the pale, having this judge oversee this part of the case. I don't even understand how we can be sitting here and talking about it. And that's why I'm talking about it again, because it bothers me that much. This cannot be allowed to happen. This is the 2-tier justice system right in front of our eyes happening in real time, folks. She has ties to every single person who would look bad in this case if these files were released. That's why they're not being released. Not because of a technicality, not because of loopholes. It's because, in my opinion, Judge Krista Marks wants to protect her friends. Only an effort from outside this cozy circle will provide answers. Last August, Governor Ron DeSantis asked Bruce Colton, state attorney for Martin, St. Lucie, Okeechobee, and Indian River counties, to supervise a criminal investigation into Krischer and Bradshaw's conduct. Colton was also stonewalled, by the way. The judge also told him to pound sand. Colton also sought the grand jury records. In January, Marks ruled against him, calling his work a fishing expedition. So that's what you're calling the prosecutor, the person put in charge by the governor to look into this? It's a fishing expedition? Yes, sorry. The only fishing expedition is the one that you're sending us on, Judge Marks. Federal courts have been unhelpful. Last year, U.S. District Judge Kenneth Mara ruled that Acosta had violated federal law by not telling the survivors about his negotiations with Epstein. But in April, a panel of the 11th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals sided 2-1 against that ruling. Now let's remember, the head judge, the judge who was in charge of that panel, graduated from Harvard. What kind of ties does he have to Dershowitz? But the panel said Acosta could have violated the Crime Victims' Rights Act if he had filed charges. The dissenting judge disagreed strongly, writing that nothing in the law requires the majority's result. Also, her name was Judge Hull, who wrote that dissenting piece, but we also had 3 other people who wrote the law, actual lawmakers. One of them was Dianne Feinstein, and I forget the other 2 right now. But they filed amicus briefs on behalf of the survivors. The people who wrote the law are telling the judges, you're not applying the law correctly. How corrupt must these judges be if politicians are telling them that they're corrupt, folks? That victory hardly amounted to vindication of Acosta. It's not a result we like, appellate judge Kevin Newsom wrote, but it's the result we think the law requires. Acosta and Krischer's deal, he added, remains beyond scandalous and a tale of national disgrace. Last month, a lawyer for the survivors asked for a hearing before the full court. And again, it's not about justice for people like Newsom, the Harvard-trained lawyer. It's what the law requires. Buddy, the people who wrote the law have filed an amicus brief on behalf of the survivors. Are you kidding me right now? What more do you need? Epstein's case drew little notice outside of Palm Beach County when it was happening. In late 2018, however, the Miami Herald published a series on Epstein called Perversion of Justice. His survivors, now adults, went on camera to describe how Epstein's enablers recruited them and how he and his powerful friends molested them. This case drew such little public interest the first time around because Epstein was being protected by his scuzzbag friends in the legacy media. We've proved that over and over again, and now for some of these legacy media types to come out and act like they've always been allies to these survivors, it's disgusting and it's gross on its face. Last July, federal prosecutors in Manhattan arrested Epstein and charged him with sex trafficking, which provided a measure of satisfaction to the survivors. Epstein's suicide, allegedly, a month later, however, robbed them of the chance to confront their abuser and see justice served. This month, Netflix premiered a 4-part series on Epstein called Filthy Rich. Despite Epstein's death, the federal investigation continues into those who recruited girls and had sex with them. Prosecutors want to interview Prince Andrew, who allegedly had sex with one of the survivors and spent considerable time with Epstein. This month, the prosecution team said Andrew had not been cooperative and essentially called him a liar. Well, we know that's the case. Andrew wants nothing to do with it. We know he's hiding in his hole behind his lawyers right now, like the coward he is. None of this would be necessary if Acosta and Krischer had done their jobs more than a decade ago, and Mukasey and Philippe and the rest of them. Acosta resigned last year as U.S. Secretary of Labor and has not reemerged in public life. Krischer retired in 2008 and never has directly addressed the Epstein agreement. That deal likely allowed Epstein to abuse more girls. It shook confidence in the justice system. It would further justice to know how and why it happened. 100%. And folks, I know we're beating a dead horse here reading an article like this, but it's important to add it to the catalog and add the Sun Sentinel's voice to the Palm Beach Posts, because it's going to take a group effort of all of us together to force these people and pressure them into doing the right thing. I don't know if you don't follow Twitter and Virginia Roberts, you probably don't know, but Virginia is not feeling well right now. She's a little under the weather and was admitted to the hospital with a bit of a sickness. And we'd like to wish her well and hope that she recovers quickly and she's back at it as soon as possible. All right, everybody. If you'd like to contact me, you could do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. All right, folks, we'll be back later. Enjoy your Saturday.